Welcome, all wrists, and welcome to another review. IWC has a history of making amazing pilot watches, some good and some bad. The Mark line has played an important part in history for both humans and watches. This newest iteration of the Mark line brings up a question. Has the Mark 20 hit the mark, or has it missed? I'll be taking a look at what the watch does right and what it could improve on. Here are the dimensions and specs. It has a case diameter of 40mm, lug to lug of 49mm, a lug width of 20mm, a thickness of 10.8mm, 100 meters of water resistance with a screw down crown, and 120 hours of power reserve thanks to its 32111 caliber. Looking at the dial, this Mark 20 immediately packs a punch with its vibrant green color. The way it plays with the light is incredible, bringing out different shades of the one color with light rays of green sweeping across a darker backdrop. The sunburst here is intense and makes for an awesome visual experience. The sun really brings out the vibrancy of the dial, highlighting a potent green which pops so well. In low light settings, the dial takes on a muted tone, hiding its sunray and presents a very dark green palette. This dynamic between light and dark is what makes the dial so great and gives it depth through color. Just a small touch of light introduces those sunburst rays which contrast so well against the rest of the dial. IWC's execution of the dial here is simply stunning, and the naturally large dial size on the Mark 20 really helps to emphasize its beauty. The color choice, in tandem with its dial finishing, elevates the watch to more than just a tool watch, and plays on its flashy edge when we take into account the polished elements of the timepiece. Green has become a popular color choice for many manufacturers, but what IWC has done here is amazing. Simply saying sunburst green is an injustice to the watch, and you really have to see it in person to fully appreciate the dial. The dial layout here is simple and clearly demonstrates its Mark series lineage through its numerals and legibility. The large numeral font is crisp in a white print, and the minute track follows suit in the same fashion, with bolder markings for the 5-minute intervals. The markings at 3, 6, 9, and 12 feature an elongated loomed print, creating a crosshair effect, as well as a loomed triangular index at 12, acting as cardinal points for orientation. This inclusion of bold and thin markings, as well as varying lengths, breaks up an otherwise monotonous track and adds a surprising amount of visual interest. There are things one might dismiss when looking at the dial, but even at the slightest glance, these elements are very noticeable. In place of a 3 is a date window. The white date wheel matches the white print, and it feels at home on this dial layout. However, there is a small thing I want to bring up. When we compare the position of the 9 and the date window, we can see it isn't truly lined up, as the 9 is much closer to its index versus the date. Regardless, the dial appears balanced and flows well, but if you're very strict on detail and symmetry, this may be something hard to unsee once you see it. Moving on to the handset, we get an interesting combination which really highlights what the Mark 20 is all about. We are presented with a familiar broad pilot style handset, but instead of a matte or painted look, we get loomed high polished hour and minute hands, contrasting a white painted seconds hand. This combination looks fantastic. The addition of polished hands really helps to tie in the whole dial with the case and bracelet, and allows that seconds hand to pop against the polished metal without getting lost. The case is deceptively simple. It follows the classic Flieger style, but has IWC's iconic shape. It features radial brushed finishing on the top of the case, with small touches of polished elements in the form of a very thin beveled edge and thin bezel. These polished components give a sense of refinement to the case and demonstrate fine transitions into the brushing. They complement the hands and dial while not being overpowering, adding versatility and subtle flashiness to the Mark 20. The watch does have a rather long lug-to-lug, even in this updated Mark 20 case. However, it has a generous curve to aid in its contour and works with the end links to help it follow the curve of the wrist. Its relatively thin profile also gives it a balanced feel and slides under the cuff with ease. It also has a solid case back with an engraving of the RAF plane, a subtle nod to its history and purpose. However, it would have been nice to peek into the movement, as the ease exchange system would make it even easier to look at. The bracelet is where things get amped up. The Mark 20 exhibits an extraordinary bracelet and is one of my favorite bracelets I've ever tried. As I said before, the end links help with wearability with the heavy curve, despite protruding from the case. Now, these end links do not articulate, but they are easily removable via the ease exchange system, making strap changes a breeze. Its staggered design also allows the bracelet to flow from the case much better and creates a cohesive look akin to that of a Rolex Jubilee. The finishing here is excellent and is where I feel IWC flexed their techniques. We get alternating brushing and polished links in a pilot bracelet configuration with thin polished bevels which match those found on the case. It has a slight taper, and remarkably, every link is removable via buttons on the underside. And when I say every link, I mean every single little link, which can make the process a little finicky. The clasp is nice and small and looks unassuming, but get up close and it reveals its true nature. It follows the same finishing pattern of brushed and polished elements with a polished bevel, but hides its engineering in its architecture. The polished center logo is a button, which activates an on-the-fly adjustment system within the clasp. It's a clean and clever design, maintaining a slim profile and sleek look, and I hope to see more manufacturers adopt this feature. Now, the Mark 20 isn't all looks. Under the hood, we get the 32-111 caliber, an automatic movement boasting 120 hours of power reserve with some silicon upgrades to its components that make it even more durable and reliable than its predecessor. The Mark watches were timepieces made with intention. They were purpose-built to serve those at the time and were a trusty companion. In today's world, the Mark 20 continues to embody this notion. It's intentionally refined, with fine finishing and bold colors, inheriting its tool watch heritage with a touch of elegance. It's not a watch that was made for the past, it's made for the modern world, to serve those in our time. Let me know what you think about the watch in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more watch content. I'll see you in the next one.